everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I was very hesitant on filming this video because of what we are going to be talking about, and that is the very infamous Subculture palette. I know you guys have probably seen a million and one different videos on this palette and how much it sucks, or maybe you've seen some videos on how much it doesn't suck. Before moving on in this video, everyone is entitled to their opinion, and that's fine. I'm not saying that my opinion is better than anyone else's, and I'm not saying that their opinion is better than mine or anything like that. So I don't want you guys to get a bad impression or like misunderstand and think that I'm bashing anyone or saying that someone isn't skillful or they're not talented enough or smart enough to know how to use this palette, or that it really takes a lot of skill to use this palette. I'm not in any shape, way, or form saying any of that stuff. I personally did watch almost every single video that came out on this palette, and at first I was gonna wait until it came out in store, but seeing all this controversy really made me want to pick up this palette and see what all the fuss was about. So I picked up the palette, and when I received the palette, I immediately started playing with it. First I swatched it, then I started playing with it, and I absolutely loved it. And I just want to thank every single beauty influencer that made a video about this palette, because even though a lot of these people are getting bashed or getting a lot of or getting reprimanded because of their negative reviews, I personally found a lot of those reviews very helpful. And I also found that without those reviews, I wouldn't know how to properly use this palette. Now, I can definitely say that this palette, it's not anything like the Modern Renaissance. I can say that the packaging looks the same, the layout of the eyeshadows, however, the formulation is not the same. And I know that's what a lot of people are making a big fuss about, is how the formula is totally different, and that they're claiming that this was the sister to the Subculture palette. And I could see how it could be a sister, because it's not the identical twin sister, it's a sister. So they have similarities, but they're not identical. So that's kind of how I saw it. And one thing that Claudia, aka Norvina, said was that Modern Renaissance is day, Subculture is night. And I 100% believe that. Modern Renaissance also had very similar tones in that palette. So that's why that palette was so much easier to use, and that's why I say that palette is perfect for daytime and also perfect for beginners. This palette, however, as you guys can see, this is what mine looks like. I've used it about 4 or 5 times. This is probably my 5th time using this eyeshadow palette, and my eyeshadow palette is still intact. It's not messy at all. Oh, it's not super messy. You can see where there has been a little bit of fallout, but it's nothing unusual. I've had this happen in other palettes. I've even had this happen in my Modern Renaissance palette. As you guys can see, these aren't your typical nudes. These do have pops of color in it, has some warm tones in it, has some cool tones in it, and it has a lot of deep tones in it. And that's one thing about this palette, is a lot of people see this palette and think that it's going to be bright, fun, colorful eyeshadows, but in reality, these are dark colors because this is a fall palette. This palette is perfect for fall because of those dark, pretty colors. This palette is perfect for a smoky eye because of the dark colors in this palette. With that being said, that's one of the reasons why I find that it's not beginner friendly, because I don't know about you guys, but when I first started off doing makeup, I didn't go and start dipping in black eyeshadow right away. Even now, whenever I use black eyeshadow, I only use the smallest amount of the black eyeshadow and then I build my way up. And that's kind of like how this eyeshadow palette is. So like I said, it does have dark tones in it. And another thing that it also has is a lot of colors that are complementary. So if you ever have seen a color wheel, you'll see where every color is lined up, and the 2 colors that are across from each other are complementary. What that means is that both of those colors, they look well paired together, but then if you were to mix them together, then they turn into a neutral color. This is something that I learned doing hair, which is kind of when it comes to color correcting. So you want to use 2 colors that are complementary to each other, and that's what's going to cancel each other out. this is like a little side note. For blonde hair that's yellow, you use purple shampoo to cancel out the yellow, the brassiness, and it makes it more ashy. And that's the reason why. It's because you're taking yellow and purple, mixing them together. Those two colors are complementary. They're across from each other on the color wheel. Those two colors will cancel each other out and turn gray. So I hope that analogy kind of makes sense and kind of helps you understand as to why a lot of people are having issues with some of the colors turning that gray weird color. So that's another reason why I say that this palette isn't super beginner friendly, because you kind of have to have some knowledge of the color wheel to understand how to pair certain colors. And this is a general rule of thumb with any colorful eyeshadow palette. Anything that's not neutral, you need to know what two colors complement each other, what colors can be paired together, and what colors can be blended together. So all of that is very, very different from each other. So knowing the knowledge on that will really, really help you guys to use the Subculture palette to the max. Another thing too is, like, when you look at the color wheel, you see what colors are next to each other. Those are colors that pair well together. Forget the exact term to it. I'll probably list it right here for you guys, just so you guys know. These colors pair well together. So those are colors that when you're creating a look, you want to put those colors together, and that's why they look so pretty. And those colors can also be mixed in with each other, and it won't look gray, it won't look muddy. They'll look nice, they suit each other. And then another thing that you also want to take into consideration are the primary colors, which is red, yellow, and blue. And that knowing that if you mix some of those colors together, that they're going to make a brand new color. So without further ado, if you guys want to learn how to create this look and how to make the Anastasia Subculture palette work for you, then just continue watching. So don't mind the fact that I have makeup on the rest of my face. I'm going to be showing you guys a demonstration on how to make the very infamous Subculture palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills work. I already gave my thoughts on this palette, so I'm not going to really talk too much about it. So I have my eyelids primed, and I used the Urban Decay Anti-Aging Primer Potion. You can use the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot as well if you would like. As you guys can see, this is what my eyeshadow palette looks like, and if you can tell, I have used it quite a bit. With this palette, all you need is one touch of your brush to whatever eyeshadow you want. It's basically like a loose pigment that was pressed into this eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to go into the shade Dawn, and I'm taking that on this Jessup Kabuki brush. And as you saw, that was one time. That's how much product I picked up. So that's how much product I picked up from that one time. So then I'm going to go ahead and buff that into my crease. So this color isn't really that much darker than my skin tone, so that's why it's not really showing up. I just want to show you guys that's what the color looks like. I'm going to use the color Roxy. So it's that really pretty peach color. One time. And this is what the eyeshadow looks like. So I'm taking that on and I'm going to put that into the crease. I'm going to start warming it up. So now that I have that, and I didn't even build up the color, like I didn't grab more. That was everything that was on my brush. I am going to build it up just a little bit on this eye, but these colors are super, super pigmented. So, you know, I understand that people are saying that they don't want to relearn eyeshadow or how to do their eyeshadow. So then next, I'm going to take my Morphe brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Fudge, and I'm going to start deepening up the crease. So I just want to show you guys again, taking that brush one time. We do have a little bit of fallout right there, as you can see. But look at all that pigmentation on the brush. And what I'm doing is I'm deepening up that crease. So I use just that little tiny bit. I don't want to use too much at first, because if I use too much, then that's where you can have that muddiness. The reason why is because you're using way too much pigment. It's like when you're using a loose pigment, you don't go in with a whole bunch at once. Slowly build it up. Same thing, same concept here, except these are just pressed. So as you see here, I'm building it up. And the less that we use, the less likely you are to have patchiness and streakiness. I'm just going to deepen up that outer V again with that Fudge shade. I'm using my M506 from Morphe. And some of these brushes are a lot harder than the others. So the ones that are a little harder, like this one, will definitely put more kickback in the eyeshadow. I mean, that's what my eyeshadow looks like. I didn't blow away any of the excess fallout. That's what it looks like. Just has brush marks in there. So next, I'm going to take the electric shade and I'm going to put that on my lid. This is a shade a lot of people are having issues with. So I'm using a flat synthetic brush. This one is from the electric palette from Urban Decay. And I'm going to use that shade and I'm just going to pick some of that up with my brush. And it might not look like you're picking much up. That's what it looks like at first. But once you start packing it onto the eye, then you'll see that you actually picked up more. So as you see, I didn't wet my brush. I didn't do anything special. Just putting that color onto my eye. Usually I use my Morphe M224, but I'm using this one because it is a little fluffier. So it can blend out that color nicer. As long as it's synthetic, you'll be good. I'm going to take a green eyeliner. So I'm using a base. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm going to. And I'm going to put that on the outer corner, kind of creating like a wing-like shape. So I'm going to take the color Untamed first. So that's this color right here. And I'm using that color to kind of blend out that liner that we just did. And I'm going to take a little bit of it and bring it into the outer corner. And you want to make sure that when you do this that you use a nicely nicely creamy eyeliner. Then I am going to go into the color Access, which I know everyone's having issues with this color. Taking some of that on the little tiny brush that came in the electric palette. Guys, like, I just want to show you, I tapped in this, I barely tapped in this. That's all the pigmentation that comes off in it. Set that lower lash line right there. And I don't know how well you guys can see this. Let me zoom you in just a little bit more. Do you guys see how pigmented that was? I just literally just went like this. And the lighter the base that you put underneath this, the brighter you can make this. So then what I'm doing is I'm kind of creating like a wing. Then I'm going to use the other side of that brush. I'm using the brush to blend everything together. Alright, so my camera kind of overheated, so like I kind of winged it out. As you can see, I'm going to grab some cube on that brush. And me personally, I didn't have an issue with cube at all. So then what I'm going to do, so I'm going to take some of this Revlon Eye Art, and this is in the shade Desert Dazzle. So it's an olive green glitter. So that's what it looks like. So now that we're zoomed out, what I'm going to go ahead and do is just finish my lips. And if you want to, you can do eyelashes. So I'm just going to put on some mascara really quick, and then I'm going to put on my lipstick, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I went ahead and I used Jordana Rock and Rose lip liner, and then I put NYX lip lingerie in the shade Cabaret Show, and then I topped that off in the center with a little bit of Baci from Stila. And the reason why I used this was just to kind of make that pink in the inner corner pop. So this is the finished look, and I hope you guys found these tips and tricks very, very helpful. So I just wanted to create this video to make something positive about this palette. I absolutely love this palette, and I do see myself reaching for it, especially a lot during the fall time. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and as always, if you guys have any requests, please let me know down below in the comment section. I would love to make whatever videos you guys want to see from me. And if you recreate this look, please make sure you guys do tag me on my social medias. And you can also use my hashtag as well, so that way I can see whatever it is that you guys created with this palette. And I will see you guys in the next one. Until then.